Hello and welcome back to Lunch Break Heroes. Today we're going to be talking about the main floor of Castle Ravenloft. This area is filled with lots of interesting and intriguing rooms and encounters, and this chapter of our guide aims to flesh out some of the sparser areas, add a bit of extra content, and a deadly encounter against one of Strahd's brides. Our first area up is Canine, the guest hall. In this area, Strahd keeps his old set of plate armor from back when he was a general and charging headlong into battles. Close inspection of this armor reveals it to be a full set of magical plate armor that confers a +1 bonus to AC. This thing is a piece of art. It is very ornamental, and veins of ruby red course down the arms and the legs of this thing as if outlining blood vessels. It is really a sight to behold in your mind. Now, anybody who puts on this suit of armor is in for a bit of a shock. Whenever Strahd desires, he can speak a command word and the armor kind of takes over, almost as if the person failed their saving throw for a command spell. Strahd can then tell them to do whatever he wants them to do, and the armor basically moves and makes them do it. Now, this is not something that Strahd is going to do willy-nilly. He's going to wait for the most opportune moment when it is a life or death situation, or it has the most impact against the party and will tip the scales in his favor. It's a really dramatic point in time when your fighter or your cleric or your paladin walks up to Strahd with his own plate armor with the full intention of giving him the beatdown of his unlifetime, only for him to snap his fingers and basically turn that party member back on their own. Next we have Area K10, the dining hall. Now, just to be forewarned, I'm not going to talk about having dinner with Strahd right now. That's a special event that deserves its own chapter, its own video focusing solely on that. So we're going to do that really soon. But right now, let's talk about the dining hall itself and when your party enters into this area outside of that dinner. Now, if your party's here in the stage of the late game or they're trying to infiltrate the castle, they're going to see one of two things when they enter into this area. Either it's going to be completely empty and dark and unlit and all of that, or Strahd is going to be there playing some music. If he is there playing music, he knows that the party is present. He knows as soon as they enter into this room, there's really no sneaking up to him. Immediately, he either stops playing or he plays quietly and turns to acknowledge the party. At that point, how he behaves is really up to how your party has behaved in the past. What does Strahd feel about your party? Is he angry with them, or are they some annoying nuisance? He's either going to entertain them a little bit, or you can hold an impromptu dinner, in which case, check out that video when it's released, or they've come there to kill him, in which case, he's not going to attack them. This isn't the scene of the final battle. The dining hall is not a part of the Fortunes of Ravenloft reading. But he will blow out all the lights in Castle Ravenloft. He will shut all the doors, and then he will welcome them to take their best shot, as it were, before, disappearing through the walls. Disappearing through the walls in this case, I think, is important because it really foreshadows his ability to phase through the walls of Castle Ravenloft. That's his chief survivability ability. And we talk a lot about that in our strategy guide that you can check out right up there. Before we go any further, you can get this guide and all of the other Lunch Break Heroes guides in professionally typeset written form to download and keep forever. They're just $1 over on Patreon. You can pledge $1, download all of our guides, and keep them forever. It's a great deal, so go ahead and check it out. If you don't want to do that or you can't do that right now, that's fine. Click the subscribe button right down there. All of that being said, let's check out the next area. Next, we're going to hop over to Area K14, the Hall of Faith. This is a really interesting area in that not a whole lot happens here. In fact, nothing happens here. It's interesting visually. There's a lot of statues to the left and the right, and their eyes seem to follow you as you go down the hallway, but in the end, it's just a hallway. I wanted to make it a bit more interesting. I wanted something to actually happen here. So we've gone ahead and we've spiced it up and we've added a bit of divine flavor to this Hall of Faith. When your party enters into the area, go ahead and kind of stop the game, pause it for a little bit. Take stock of these characters' bonds and their flaws and their ideals, and compare it to how they behaved in Barovia. Did they uphold their bonds? Did they fall to their flaws? Did they pursue their ideals? If they have played their character to their best ability and they have gone along with this personality that they've created, award them a point of inspiration. Alternatively, if you want to take a look at who has changed the most throughout Barovia, change could be good or ill, but whoever has changed the most, maybe they get inspiration instead. Next up, we have Area K15, the Chapel. This is home to the Icon of Ravenloft, that special little item that burns and basically kills any evil character that tries to pick it up and touch it. Now, one such character is Gustav Herringast. His ashes are already strewn across the altar, but unlike in the module, he's not taken this lying down. He did not like being burned, and he wants to take another crack at this thing. When your party gets near the altar, the ashes of Gustav Herringast are going to fall to the floor of their own accord, and a booming voice will sound out, filling the chapel, shouting that this isn't fair, that he deserves another shot, that he does not accept this fate. Immediately, Gustav's spirit will try to possess one of your party members. They're going to have to make a DC 13 charisma saving throw. On a failure, they are possessed by Gustav, and that character takes on the statistics of a revenant and begins to fight against the party. It picks up the mace if it can, and it begins to just try to wail on them all. If you want to add a little bit of more interactivity, if you want to keep that player engaged, have them play their character as the revenant. Don't take it over. Let them do it. On the other hand, any character who succeeds on their saving throw just feels a bit of a chill down their spine, and Gustav goes and tries the next character in line. Any character who succeeds on their saving throw cannot be possessed by Gustav again. If there are no characters left to possess, Gustav's spirit dissolves, and it's bye-bye Gustav. Likewise, if the possessed character is dropped to 0 hit points, then Gustav is also dissolved and banished from this realm. Next up, I want to talk about Area K20, the Heart of Sorrow. I want to specifically start with the spiral staircase area that leads up to the heart proper. In the module, this area is completely dark except for a bit of red light that comes from the heart at the top of the tower. Instead of that, I want to have this area bathed in flickering candlelight, just thousands of candles arrayed along the spiral staircase that leads upwards. And each candle is individually set into its own little alcove. Below each candle is a nameplate. These nameplates vary in age. Some of them are old and weathered, and some of them look like they were just put up last week. Every nameplate bears the name of an adventurer who has gone up against Strahd in his castle and failed. It's basically a roll call for the March of the Dead that happens, out of Barovia every day at midnight. While your party is climbing the staircase up to the heart, and before the heart actually starts thrashing and trying to kill them, have all of the candles go out all at once, except just a few, right next to the party. They look over to see these candles, their flames flickering barely, just about to go out, and the nameplates below them bear their own names. These last flames represent their life, and they can go out at any moment, representing the lethality of this entire encounter, the desperation for which they are clinging on to life, reflected in these little tiny flames. Now, at the top of the tower, we have the Heart of Sorrow proper. In this area, as written, there's an encounter with a whole bunch of animated halberds that, not gonna lie, I really hated. I didn't like running this encounter at all. It got boring, it dragged on, it was just a logistical nightmare. I'm pretty sure my players didn't like it either. What I wanted to do was replace this myriad of all the same enemies. Is that really a myriad? Anyways, I wanted to replace them with a boss fight. This is where Volenta Popovsky, one of Strahd's brides, makes her stand. Volenta is the stealthy archetype of Strahd's brides. She's stealthy spice. She wants to protect the heart at all costs. She doesn't want to kill the party, though. That's up to her Lord Strahd, but she's going to do what she needs to do to protect Strahd's interest. She hides in the shadows. She lays traps. She darts around, almost evading most opportunity attacks. Opportunity attacks against Volenta have disadvantage, by the way. She's that good. You can find her stat block in the description down below. Let me know how your encounter against Volenta goes in the comments. Next up, we have Area K23, the Servants' Entrance. In this area, your party will find a few more of Strahd's denizens that aren't immediately hostile. There's 3 skeletons in here that are going about some mimicry of their past life, just like the guards with the wedding guest list that we check out in this video here. These guys in Area K23 are even more harmless. They're basically undead peasants. One of them is sweeping the floor, the same spot over and over again, its broom worn down to basically nothing. Another one is stirring a cauldron. Maybe there used to be a soup in there or whatnot, but now the wooden spoon just clangs against the sides of this empty pot. And the third is writing in the ledger that's on the desk. It's got its ink quill, it's dipping it into a dry ink well, maybe putting it up against its teeth as if trying to wet the nib. It's scratching this page over and over again. There's a little hole in there where it's trying to write. All of these sad figures going just about their duties, about their day for centuries on end. It's not an exciting encounter, but it's a bit of extra flavor, a bit of insight into what Castle Ravenloft used to be. Next up, we have Area K24, the Servants' Quarters. This is a small room with a staircase that leads up to what eventually became Tatiana's quarters. We haven't really made much of a change here. In fact, we've only just added a bit of an Easter egg. Anybody with a perception score of 12 or higher will notice a little inscription on the stairs. Somebody, some jealous maid or something, inscribed the words "Harlot's Nest" onto the staircase. Whether or not Strahd has noticed that is entirely up to you. Who that jealous party could have been is also up to you. But it's apparent that Tatiana was not as popular with everyone as she was with Strahd and Sergei.